York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I mean, they're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
To the 2024 Stanley Cup odds, the Hurricanes remain the favorite, followed by the Panthers and the Rangers. Interesting that they all are coming from the similar side of the bracket.
While the Oilers have the top-end talent, I still don't think they have enough depth, and Stuart Skinner does not scare me in depth. So I will take a long series from the Oilers and the Kings, and ultimately I think the Stars are the ones coming out of the West for the Stanley Cup.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The Philadelphia 76ers, who are the second best team in this Eastern Conference by a mile when Joel Embiid is healthy. And that's just what they are. So now, if Giannis isn't available, the Bucks would be dogs in the series.
He ain't sleeping on that air mattress anymore. He's got a regular king-size bed, a Posturepedic, whatever they call it, a Sealy's, whatever they do, those things. He ready to roll. Denominating tonight.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Ferrall has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. All right, I'm Ferrall in New York. It's Coast to Coast on a Tuesday along with Mike Carver. Carver High, let's get right into it. The Knicks game last night for me was phenomenal, glorious, stupendous. I enjoyed it. I particularly enjoyed all the bad calls that went my way. And I have nothing but good things to say about the Knicks. Screw the Sixers. And I think that when they go back to Philly, the Knicks are going to be in trouble.
Well, happy Tuesday to you, Scotty, here on C2C as we get going with the game with the Knicks last night. I do have to ask you first, who won the Little 500? Before I even get in, you got to at least tell me who won the Little 500 before I get involved in this Knick game last night.
Some independent team that wasn't the Cutters. And the Cutters have won 15 Little 500s, and they're like everyone's most hated team now. Like no one wants them to win because they win so many of them. So some independent team upset them. They were called black mule cows or something. And it reminded me of how many farms I saw on the way to Bloomington and all the cows and hawks I saw flying in the air. I will say this, that my son did say to me after the trip that I'm not going to your hillbilly college. I don't care about farmers, and I'm not going to Indiana. I'm going back to San Diego, where all the copper-tone smelling chicks are in G-strings, and keg parties on the beach, and surfing in the morning, and skateboarding to class, and 330 days of sunshine a year. He goes, we went to the race. It was 45 degrees. He said, this place sucks. That was the end of it. So we're done with Indiana. And here's to IU. Thanks for the memories. I got to admit, I mean, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. It's like going in a time warp. You're in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, oh, my God, what are we going to do today? I have no idea.
We'll just have to root for Omar Ballo and the crew from afar next fall and winter.
I'm too New York City for little hillbilly Bloomington, Indiana. Thanks so much. And for all the people that don't like that down there, screw you. How's that sound?
Well, we do have big city New York.
John Cougar Mellencamp. Screw him too. I was born in a small town. You can have that small town all day. Go ahead. Go down to the gas station and get your dollar cigarettes. Go ahead. You stupid backbred hillbilly jack. I oughta.
Well, we'll start with the big city then. If you want to start big city, we can start big city today.
Thank you.
With the NBA playoffs,
by the way, Carver High, once Bob Knight died, Bloomington died with it. That's it.
You're probably
That's
right
it.
about that.
I am
Probably right about that. That's for sure. It's been a long time for Hoosier basketball as we know it. Why don't we start with the Knicks since we want to go big city here? And I got to say, usually we complain about how bad all these NBA playoff games are every single night. Not last night. You had two very good ones. We'll start at the Garden where the Knicks beat the Sixers 104-101. Now, I really wanted to give you the full grasp of this, Scotty. So as you know, the Knicks are down 5. Final 30 seconds of the game. I'm going to give you kind of the whole gist of it here on MSG with Mike Breen.
To Hart, back to Brunson. Brunson double team, splits the defense. Lowry takes it away, picked up by DiVincenzo. 8 on the 24, DiVincenzo, corner to Brunson. Sidestep, three-pointer, shot, it's good! Took the bounce and went in. 2-point game. Ball knocked loose, and Maxey gets knocked down. Hart takes it away. Out top to DiVincenzo, his shot won't go. Hartenstein the rebound. Hartenstein gets it out to Anunoby. DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a 1-point lead with 13 seconds remaining.
Wow.
And then Maxey went down and drove for the winning layup, and white boy Rick swatted that shot, Hartenstein. And Anunoby got the rebound, made 2 free throws, and that was all she wrote. I know they cried about the calls, and there were bad calls on both sides the entire game. So, and then you could watch the nightcap and see even worse calls. So, once again, it's real simple. Refs ruin everything. They ruin every game, every season, every playoff game, every title game, every championship. They ruin everything. And that's the problem with sports today is refs. They don't have any good ones. The ones that are good are on the take. The ones that are good are on the take. I'll throw Foster's name in that ring. He's another one that's corrupt. He plays favorites and screws teams, and everybody knows it. And I think half of it has to do with betting. So they got to make sure all the mob gets all their money out of this, right? And the refs that work for them. I know everyone thinks I work for La Cosa Nostra. Yeah, as you know, Carver High, in my spare time, I spend a lot of my free time in Italy.
Nothing wrong with Italy. Why not? You can go jump over there every couple of weeks. You're not going to Indiana anymore. You might as well stop in Italy every now and then. So at least you have that going for you. It does amaze me that you finally have a couple of really good games, like great finishes. And what's the first thing everybody talks about after?
Refs.
It's the refs. It's like not that was such a great game. What a comeback. How did they blow that game out? It always is the refs' fault. It's never they outplayed us. It's never they were a little bit better. It's never they wanted it more. It's we got screwed. That's always the answer when you have a close game like this.
I heard that, today I heard a couple of things that bothered me. One, that Maxey got just annihilated in the corner and fouled and annihilated and hammered and held and clutched and grabbed. And I got to be honest with you. I'm just being flat out honest. I thought that he turned the ball over. I thought the guy turned the ball over. I don't agree with anyone who thinks he got mauled. I think Lowry threw him a bad pass. The ball got deflected in the air. He went to jump and get it. He ended up on the floor. He turned the ball over. He lost it. Once he got it, he tried to make a pass, and Hart got the ball and made the play. Second thing is LeBron James, after their game, started talking about the refs. And then I heard all these big, multi-million-dollar superstar people on television now today that are know-it-alls that tell me that he's just planting a seed for Game 3, so the refs will give them all the calls. How stale is that take now in sports? He's planting a seed for the future, so he can get some calls. He knows that none of the complaining about D'Lo getting raked across the face by Porter. That was obvious, right? But here's the deal. The Lakers were up 20 in the second half and lost. That's it. That's your story.
That's it.
You can blame Jesus Christ himself. The bottom line is they were up 20 and they choked. And they lost their 10th straight to the Nuggets, who own their ass and sleep with their lovers. I mean, it's that simple. They just own them. They're in their head,
I
rent
agree.
free, penthouse.
You could say the same thing in this game. You got a 5-point lead with 30 seconds to go. You shouldn't lose the game. I mean, you should find a way to figure it out.
Right.
Or how about your big superstar get a board over there on the first DiVincenzo miss? How about somebody grab a rebound? And the other thing I couldn't take all day this morning was saying that this guy called a timeout. Nurse over there, he was over. He had his hands raised in the air like this guy. He wasn't calling a timeout. He eventually did, but when Maxey didn't have the ball. Enough with Nick Nurse and the timeouts this morning. You want to call timeout? Call it after Brunson makes the 3 so that you can move the ball up half court. Well, that's what you should have called timeout. Call it then.
Right.
Stupid. It really is. Here's Embiid crying about this. I don't know if we have time to squeeze this in. We might have to wait for Embiid. I have to wait because I think we only have 30 seconds left. So I'm going to hold that for later on.
You're going to torture me and make me
I'm going to make you wait.
JoJo.
Sulking JoJo. We're all getting used to the new ins and outs here. So I just realized we're out of here in 30 seconds. So I'll give you JoJo later on crying as well in his locker after the game. But he says they're still going to win it. He says they're the better team.
Listen, I think the Knicks have a massive problem on their hands, and it's Tyrone Maxey. They cannot stop him.
People that bashed him will be eating their words this year.
Pretty heavily favored to be a first-round pick, minus 400 earlier this week. But that's not the surprise.
If you're drafting J.J. McCarthy in the first half of the first round, you clearly believe not only is he a starter, he's going to be your starter for years to come. But
a popular bet was under 3.5 wide receivers in the first round.
The tape doesn't lie, baby.
Only on SportsGrid.
He just tossed an air ball, like in a critical. You're up by 2 with 20 seconds left. He said, give me the ball, up LeBron James, and he tossed an air ball. And there was AD under the bucket fighting everybody, and he ends up going to the free throw line.
They use Tavares as a friggin' pinata tonight. Dude, I know you're old, but get it together. This is your last run at something, man. This is your career, bro. Don't go out like this. Oh, it's hard watching this.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience because you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah, the fan that only watches what's hot, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing. They're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
So I turned it off. I got my sweat done, and I'm leaving. I'm taking my money. I'm going home, and I don't want to talk to you for the rest.
Oh, yes!
There it is.
6-3. Catch the over. The over is hit. The Padres are our heroes.
That's how we end the show. That's how we end the show.
Oh, well, let's just sign off. Let's just call it a show.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
5 minutes, fellas. 5 minutes.
I appreciate it, man. Oh, okay. You getting that bet in before the boom, huh?
Yeah, you LA all the way.
What? Oh, come on, man. You know it's Boston, baby.
KG, I understand why you said it, but it's LA.
Jay, are you serious?
You know what? It's LA.
Why are you standing up?
Because it's LA. You know what? You ain't scaring me. Let me tell you something. That ain't
Boston, Boston, Boston.
It's LA.
All right, so let's hear whining JoJo. What's he very upset?
Very upset afterwards. Here he is. He didn't even, obviously, I know his eyes hurting him, but he didn't want to look up at anybody. Here's Embiid.
Do you think you guys had gotten a timeout in?
I mean, everybody on the floor was trying to call a timeout, myself including Nico, coach on the sideline. But they didn't give it to us. But, forget about the timeout. There's a bunch of fouls. Like I said, that's unacceptable. We should be 2-0. So, we're good. We're going to win this series. We're going to win this. We know what we got to fix. We did a better job today, so we're going to fix it. But we're the better team, and we're going to keep fighting.
The better team.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think that they are a problem, certainly for the Knicks. If you really think about it, they led in both games and had a chance to win both games. And they were right there. They blew it. They're up 5 with 27 seconds left. You can't have that meltdown. And they did. But I think they're, when they go back to Philly, they're going to be right where they were, right where they left off. They have been giving the Knicks problems. Embiid and Maxey, Tyrese Maxey's unguardable. He's absolutely unguardable. I thought the play of the game was the Hartenstein block of him going for the go-ahead layup. I mean, that was just an incredible chase down behind the back block, and Anunoby went to the line off the rebound. So that was unbelievable. That's the only time anyone came close to blocking his shot. Morency joins us from Vancouver every day. Catch Sports Rage weeknights at 10 on SportsGrid, SportsGrid TV, SportsGrid Radio, SportsGrid app, and all of our affiliates, including 1090 in San Diego, SiriusXM, Channel 159, Sports Byline USA. What did you think of the end of that game at the Garden last night, Gabe?
Wild stuff. And I've talked about this in the past a lot, Scott, with Nick Nurse. Know him well, being the head coach of the Toronto Raptors as long as he's been. Nobody, and I mean nobody, in the National Basketball Association chirps the referees as much as Nick Nurse does, right? The preseason games, regular season games, the entire game, they tune him out. And he said that he claimed he called 2 timeouts late. Dude, you tried to call a timeout when there was the Battle Royal, Monday Night Raw. Bodies were all over the floor. He tried to call a quick timeout in the middle of a chaotic moment. He had an opportunity to slow it down and get the ball to half court. He didn't. This is what he does. Watch him during a game, Scott. He's more concerned with chirping the ref the whole time, but it doesn't even out. It's not like, well, I'll get a call if I work him a little bit. They just don't like him. And I used to think it was just, they don't like the Raptors, but it's the same thing with the Philadelphia 76ers. He actually hurts the team with his attitude towards the refs.
Do you think that they're playing better than the Knicks and that they'll go home and win games?
No, I don't agree with what Embiid says. I think the Knicks are the better team, Scott. I think the Sixers might have flashier players, right? Embiid's a badass, but I question his durability in a postseason. You talked about Maxey. I've been a big Maxey fan. If Maxey was on another team and he was the man, he'd probably score like 27 points a night. Right, this kid's the real deal, but it just doesn't come together for them. They have a hard time closing out games, this basketball team. It's been a problem for them in the past, but they played good basketball. You look at the Lakers, similar situation where the Lakers have outplayed. The Lakers would have a bigger beef, Scott, than the Knicks. Like, I don't watch the Sixers and Knicks series and think, the Sixers are the better team. They're just not winning the games. No. The Knicks are the better team, and the Knicks are the ones that are getting it done under pressure. If you look at the Lakers and the Nuggets, the Lakers have been the better team for like 7.5 quarters out of 8 quarters, if not more, in that series, and they're down 2-0. It's a cold world.
I mean, they can't beat the Denver Nuggets. You're up 20 in the second half, and you're still up 10 at the start of the fourth. You knew when it went from 20 to 10, they were in trouble.
You did. And this is what Denver does. Denver's got to be careful not to dig these holes all the time. They're at the point now, Scott, where, we're so good we can flick the switch. They're a good bet against in the first half, actually. Just point blank. They're slow starters. We saw this in the regular season this year as well. Since they've won the title, they dial it up. They pace themselves through the game. Jokic doesn't dial it up. Murray's lets the game come to him. You'll notice in the fourth quarter, he'll start to get more aggressive. They're a very smart basketball team. I kind of feel for the Lakers, though, Scott. The Lakers have played good basketball. The Lakers are not a bad basketball team. They're a pretty good team this year. Of all matchups that they end up getting, they got to deal with the freaking Denver Nuggets, and it's a cold world, man. And same thing happened last year, dude. They got swept by the Nuggets, but they didn't get blown out in any of the games, but they ended up getting swept. And sort of similar situation to the Islanders, actually, right? You're playing well, you don't play them, you end up losing. It's almost like, yeah, we can't beat them, just point blank. You can't beat them. The Lakers can't beat the Nuggets. I agree with you. It's not happening.
Did you have any interest? Like, I've had zero invested into that Cleveland-Orlando series. Like, it's almost like I don't even care it's on. Like, I don't even watch that game.
I've seen about maybe 35 seconds of it, Scott, to be honest with you. Well, there's other games going on at the same time when they're playing, right? Like, they were the first ones up, so I saw a bit of it in the game one. But once everything else started, I'm like, yeah, there's kind of other things that are more important in this game right now.
So, tonight.
Plus, I was at the Canucks game Sunday night, too, right? I was at the hockey game, too. So
yeah, I saw that. I saw you at the hockey game getting rowdy. I saw you had your flag and you were screaming and you were waving your flag. I saw all of that. I did see you at the Canucks game. When we come back, we'll get Morency's picks for the NBA tonight and the NHL Stanley Cup playoff games. It's Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Tuesday.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's when he swung it easy at three-quarter golf swings, and he pretty much hit his number all the time. Dude, but when he hit something full, he hit it 20 yards over the greens at times. He's like, what are you doing?
He's just smiley, happy, and a freakish athlete golf robot that's going to be right there winning majors for the next 10-plus years. It's amazing.
Did you say he was smiling or smiley?
Only on SportsGrid.
They're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
To the 2024 Stanley Cup odds, the Hurricanes remain the favorite, followed by the Panthers and the Rangers. Interesting that they all are coming from the similar side of the bracket.
While the Oilers have the top-end talent, I still don't think they have enough depth, and Stuart Skinner does not scare me in depth. So I will take a long series from the Oilers and the Kings, and ultimately I think the Stars are the ones coming out of the West for the Stanley Cup.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
I was at the Indianapolis airport, and they have a Pacers clubhouse lounge where you can eat and have breakfast and have drinks and whatever. And they have a, like a shop you can buy all the clothes in. And the Fever clothes were flying off the shelves, and the Pacer shirts and jerseys were just all sitting on their rack. Everyone that went in there was buying Fever stuff. And I was sitting there watching people just buying like Indiana Fever shirts and no one buying Pacers. Looks like they don't have any fans anymore, the Pacers, as the
They gave up after game one.
yeah, they got a big game tonight in Milwaukee. Who do you like in the Pacers, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Minnesota, Dallas Clipper games tonight in the NBA playoffs?
Well, starting off with that Pacers game, Scott, you and I talked about it. I thought we agreed. I like the Pacers coming into this series, even if Giannis was playing. And here they are. They got punched in the mouth. They just weren't playoff ready. Say what you will about the Milwaukee Bucks, but they do have a lot of players that have won championships and or have played in big games before. And the Pacers really haven't. You know, Pascal Siakam has. I was kind of surprised how flat the Pacers were. They just didn't have that playoff intensity for a team that was as hot as they were down the stretch. Right. I expect them to bring it tonight. I'm going to go back to them. I took them in game one. I don't really have a choice but to take them again tonight. So I'm going to take the Pacers getting to 1 point. I was on Minnesota, Scott, and I thought the T-Wolves were getting a little bit disrespected against the Suns. I think you and I agreed as far as the Suns as well. They're not very good, bro. All right, you got three dudes. All right, Booker's not old, but Beal is. He's not young. Durant's not young. You can run and gun these guys. They're going to need you're not going to beat the T-Wolves in the paint. The T-Wolves are one of the biggest teams in the NBA. They're the best defensive team in the NBA. All this talk, well, Phoenix beat them in a regular season. Who cares? Doesn't matter. And we saw the difference. I'm going to go back with the T-Wolves. So I lost with the Pacers in game one. I'm going to go back to them. I won with the T-Wolves in game one. I'm going to go back to them. And it looks like Kawhi is going to be back tonight. He's on the floor right now in their afternoon warm-up, pregame walkthrough, etc. Now, it's not a guarantee he's playing, but I think he is. And there's been a line move right now. The Clippers are now 1.5 favorites. But another situation, Scott, where I was on Dallas in game one, and I don't really want to zigzag and be wrong here. I think the Clippers are a damn good basketball team and better than people give them credit for. But listen, man, we saw Dallas get it together in the fourth quarter. I don't know what was wrong with the Mavericks in the first half of that game. They weren't ready to play. I'm expecting them to be ready to play tonight.
I bet Minnesota and Milwaukee in game ones. I stayed off of the Dallas Clipper game, but I like the Clippers in game one just like I like Milwaukee. They were both getting points at home in a game one of a playoff series, and I only bet the other two. All right, I did bet the Rangers in game one laying a goal and a half and hit it. They won 4-1. They're going again tonight against the Caps, Florida and Tampa, Nashville and Vancouver, and Colorado, Winnipeg. I watched the Predators, and I bet on them up 2-1 on Vancouver, and then they blew it with 9 minutes to go. They blew that game. You were there.
Yeah, 2 goals in 12 seconds, although the news of the day in Vancouver, and it's pretty big news, is Vancouver Canuck goaltender and all-star goaltender at that. One of the best goalies in the NHL, Thatcher Demko, is out again. Now, he missed basically the last 3.5, 4 weeks of the season. He came back. He played a couple of games before the playoffs started. He played awesome in game one. Without him, they don't win. He made some crazy saves. And now he's hurt again. Now, it's his same knee that he hurt before, but reportedly it's a different injury with his knee. And it doesn't sound good. Basically, questionable to return for the series is what people are saying. Now, these games are a little bit spread out. Game one was Sunday night. Game 4 is going to be Sunday night. And a potential game 7 will be the following Sunday, 2 weeks. So I don't know how severe this injury is. Now, it should be noted, you would know, Scott, former Pittsburgh Penguin goalie Casey DeSmith is the backup. He's played well for the Canucks, all right? He beat the Predators earlier this year, actually. He made 26 saves on 28 shots. He was the first star of the hockey game. So I'm still going to hold confidence in the Vancouver Canucks to get it done tonight. I think the Rangers win by 1.5 again tonight. I like the Tampa Bay Lightning plus 1.5 tonight, Scott. I wouldn't be surprised if that game goes to overtime. And why are the Winnipeg Jets underdogs? They're at home. They're the better team. They're getting no respect. Jets beat the Avs again tonight.
Whoa, how about that? Jets beat the Avs again tonight in Ferrellapeg. All right, Morency, you're styling in Vancouver. I'm glad you got to go to a Canuck game on a weekend. You were worried about that. At least you got to go. Great stuff. We'll see you again tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah, I want to...
The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's when he swung it easy at three-quarter golf swings, and he pretty much hit his number all the time. Dude, but when he hit something full, he hit it 20 yards over the greens at times. He was like, what are you doing?
He's just smiley, happy, and a freakish athlete golf robot that's going to be right there winning majors for the next 10-plus years. It's amazing.
Did you say he was smiling or smiley?
Only on SportsGrid.
They're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
To the 2024 Stanley Cup odds, the Hurricanes remain the favorite, followed by the Panthers and the Rangers. Interesting that they all are coming from the similar side of the bracket.
While the Oilers have the top-end talent, I still don't think they have enough depth, and Stuart Skinner does not scare me in net. So I will take a long series from the Oilers and the Kings, and ultimately I think the Stars are the ones coming out of the West for the Stanley Cup.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Mike Korsky joins us from the Sporting News regularly on SportsGrid. You see him here on C2C. You can see him on Fox Sports. He's everywhere. And he's also back in Pittsburgh. God bless him. By the way, Mike, I was just telling Morency that I was at the Pacers clubhouse in the Indianapolis airport. You know, that little spot over in the corner there. And they have like a shop, like a Pacer fever shop there and Colts and stuff like that. And I was in there the other morning waiting for my flight yesterday to come back to New York City. And I noticed several people buying fever jerseys and fever shirts. And I sat and I was like directly in view of the store in the seat I had. And I just kept watching people going in there and buying fever stuff, and not one person, I sat there for an hour and a half, not one person bought a Pacer shirt, and everyone was buying fever shirts. And I thought it was kind of fascinating that they're the hot meal ticket in town now.
Caitlin Clark is an amazing figure. I don't know that we've seen a ton of athletes in our lifetimes that have had such a transformational effect on their sports. I mean, I really do believe that you have to look back to Namath with the NFL, to Bird and Magic with the NBA. You just don't see athletes like her with that charisma and that appeal and that game-changing influence. You just don't see very many of them. I think probably the Mia Hamm group with the women's 1999 World Cup champions had kind of a similar effect. But she's had just an amazing impact on the WNBA and on the Fever, and of course, obviously, in retrospect, on Division I women's college basketball. And I know there are a lot of skeptics about the influence that someone like that can have. What happens after they're gone? Well, what happens is that not everybody sticks around. There probably won't be 18 million people that watch next year's women's national championship game. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be more than 5 million. I guarantee that. I'll tell you right now, it's going to be more than 5, which is what it was before Caitlin came along and took it to 10 and then ultimately 18. It's going to be more than 5. That's what happens. People watch a Caitlin, and okay, so she moves along to the WNBA, and people think, this was really cool. I want to watch this again. So next year, there will be a significant audience, more significant than what it was before she found college basketball.
So they, some of them, like the Cavinder twins, they went back to Miami, obviously, for money because they had left, and they're going back to Coral Gables. The money she made in college, Clark, is absurd. The kids now, if you're a superstar player in college athletics, you can make a lot of money. If you're not going to make any money. What do you think? I know you wrote a piece about what those WNBA salaries are like, and it's almost like they're a joke. Like, is it really that bad? Like, what is going on with women's pro basketball that nobody makes any money?
Well, I think the what I wrote about was not so much what she would make if she were unencumbered as a WNBA player. You make what your league affords, basically. So the WNBA has not been a profitable league or a highly profitable league over the course of the last decade or more. And that needs to change. But in order for that to change, people will need to go to the games and they'll need to watch them on television. A week ago, when it was revealed what Caitlin would be making, I think around $78,000, there was a lot of outrage. And my response to that is, okay, go to games. Go to games and the numbers will go up. But the problem that I pointed out relative to Caitlin Clark is also a problem in the NBA, where they make a lot of money, and the NFL, where they make even more than that, which is the rookie salary scale in all of those sports is odious. It's the worst thing ever introduced in any of those sports. It was conceived by gutless NBA owners back in the 90s who were afraid of paying Glenn Robinson and other players like him a lot of money on the off chance they might not become stars. Very few of the players, including Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway and Jason Kidd and Grant Hill, failed to become stars. It was a very productive time for players entering the league, but the NBA got scared, and so they introduced the rookie salary scale, and players made less money, but they also had less incentive to be great. They had less incentive to enter the NBA as great and ready NBA players. So you know what happened, Scott? The players got worse. They got worse. They weren't as good over the next several years. They haven't been as good entering the NBA over the course of the last 30 years as they were during the period when players like Shaq and Penny and those guys were going into the NBA. They cut off their nose to spite their face. And so what did the NFL do? They decided to do the same thing. The WNBA, same thing. Now, it doesn't hurt those leagues as much in terms of the development process because they have restrictions on when you can enter. But it's still a bad look for a player like Caitlin Clark to not be able to negotiate a salary that she is worth, but to be stuck with whatever they assigned. She should be coming into the WNBA making the WNBA's max because she is going to pay for her salary. This is true, Scott. She's going to more than pay for her entire salary in one home game. One home game, and relative to Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever will already be well into the black. That's absurd. She should be able to earn what she's worth. Relative to the salary cap, fine. The max contract, I think, is $240,000, $248,000. That's what she should be getting.
What was your final assessment of all the coaching changes on the men's side in college basketball? Of all those shuffle deck coaches moving around, which ones were your favorite?
Well, I still think John Calipari to Arkansas will turn out extremely well. That I gave that my highest grade in the column that I did. I was very much in favor of Arkansas getting him, and I understood why after all the heat that John Calipari has taken at Kentucky over the last 3-4 years, that he'd had enough. And I did not think that the Kentucky's approach, that not the university as much, but the fan base, some of the wealthy donors, the lack of patience. You know, I pointed out that the team that played in the NCAA championship game from the Big Ten, Purdue, the last 3 years, they lost to a 14 seed, a 15 seed, and a 16 seed. And now it took the best college basketball team of the decade to eliminate them from the NCAA tournament. It's the nature of the event. sometimes you're going to hit a rough patch, and certainly Kentucky did. But it didn't mean they weren't producing excellent teams. They still were. They were still competing at the top of a very strong conference, and I think that they were moving forward, and they made a mistake by basically squeezing him out. I think in the end, Arkansas will reap the benefit of that. At the opposite end, a lot of people were excited about Kevin Young at going to BYU. I was not as much, Scott, because he may be a basketball genius, but being a college coach is not about being a basketball genius. It helps in there if you are one, but there's a lot of other components that go into being a college basketball coach. And if you have not worked in the game, you don't get it. The track record of gentlemen who have been NBA players / coaches / executives that have gone into college basketball with basically only the playing experience of having been there, it's about 9% success rate. Fred Hoiberg and almost no one else.
How about your boy, Kevin Young, getting a C- from Mike DeCourcy? He's going to have to study harder, apparently, to get that grade up, or he might be in jeopardy of falling below the Mendoza line of a 2.0. All right, Mike, great stuff. Thank you, my man. Have a great week.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's when he swung it easy at three-quarter golf swings, and he pretty much hit his number all the time. Dude, but when he hit something full, he hit it 20 yards over the greens at times. He was like, what are you doing?
He's just smiley, happy, and a freakish athlete golf robot that's going to be right there winning majors for the next 10-plus years. It's amazing.
Did you say he was smiling or smiley?
Only on SportsGrid.
They're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, yeah, move on.
Ferrall coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
To the 2024 Stanley Cup odds, the Hurricanes remain the favorite, followed by the Panthers and the Rangers. Interesting that they all are coming from the similar side of the bracket.
While the Oilers have the top-end talent, I still don't think they have enough depth, and Stuart Skinner does not scare me in depth. So I will take a long series from the Oilers and the Kings, and ultimately I think the Stars are the ones coming out of the West for the Stanley Cup.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Robert High, very disappointed in me. He said in the break that you said you were going to get me an Omar Ballo jersey, and now you're talking about never going back to Bloomington, and he's very upset now, and I'm lucky that he's continuing with the remainder of the show. He's very upset. I didn't get him a Ballo. I got 34C something. I got Chop something, and I paid for Gunner's party, and then I got myself 2 Hoosier T-shirts. I forgot to get you the Ballo. So it looks like the chances of me getting that jersey are nil.
We'll get it. How about we'll pick one up at the Final Four next year when Indiana's there? When Ballo leads them to the Final Four. That'll get you jazzed up.
I'll go to
the
the
kid
Final
from
Four
Stanford, too. Didn't they get this kid from Stanford also? The other big transfer? They've been doing pretty good.
They got a kid from Washington State, and they ended up getting they've had, I've heard some people say that Indiana won the portal off-season in college basketball.
That's a great thing to win the portal, but you also then have to translate and win on the court. But Ballo's going to be a big start, and those other two kids very good as well. All right, I want to talk to you about this Nugget-Laker game now. We've mentioned it a little bit, but I'll give you some stuff from that. 101-99 was the final. Of course, the Lakers had a 20-point lead in this game, Scotty. Some monster games to talk about here. Joker with 27, 20, and 10 for the triple-double. LeBron had 26. AD had 32, but didn't touch the ball basically the entire last quarter and a half. Here is the finish for you. Here it is. LeBron's got the rock. Wide open three. Not going to make it, and that leads to a very big finish on TNT.
They put LeBron and AD on the two best players for the Nuggets in Murray and Jokic so they can switch.
Murray's got 12 here in the fourth. Defender falls. LeBron three. Rebound by Porter. Denver with the timeout. We are tied.
I love it. Don't call it. Tie ball game. Worst can happen. We go to overtime.
Murray makes a move. Game's on. The Nuggets have won.
Yeah, I'm not digging them, to be honest with you. It didn't take me long to not like them. I'm not a fan, and I don't care at all what anyone thinks, and I'll live with that. I don't, the Lakers had this game. Honestly, you're up 20. You got to win the game. I don't care any way you slice the pie. They got to win the game, and they didn't win the game. It's embarrassing. And what you said earlier was further proof of it, that, Davis never touched the ball again the rest of the game in the fourth quarter. You got to be kidding me. This guy dominated that game. He was scoring at will. He was literally going off in that game. And then you stop going to him? Like, what's the plan? I don't understand. Is it they put too much faith in this Reeves and Russell? I mean, this is a simple formula for me with this team. It's LeBron and AD. That's the show. That's the pick and roll. That's the go-to. That's the touch every time down. If I have a guy as talented as him, which is what he is, when he's healthy, Mike, he's unstoppable. And he has been healthy. We mock this guy like no other as peanut brittle, but he played in 70-plus games this year, and he's playing in every playoff game. And for the life of me, I cannot explain how does that guy not touch the rock in the last 12 minutes of that game. You deserve to lose. And I am looking forward to anyone beating Denver. I don't care who it is.
14 for 19 from the floor. And he didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter. How does that happen?
How do you have
a guy 14 for 19 from the floor, and he has 32 points, and he doesn't become part of any of your offense in the entire fourth quarter in a close game?
I blame him.
Coaching.
I blame him. How in God's name do you not give him the ball every single trip down the floor? It has to go. So Mafia knows this. When we had Mafia and we had Coco, 6'5" and 6'8", they touch the ball every time down. We go through the high post big every time down the floor. There is no, let's see what the guard can create today. It's get the big the ball. Everything else opens up from there. Either he finishes or he's got someone off the double wide open for a good look. And we used to do the same thing with Mafia. Bring it down, give the big the ball. They double, someone's open, Mafia turns, throws the ball to them. They knock down the shot. We win championships. Why did this guy not have the ball in his hands? You know why? Because Darvin Ham's not a good coach. That's a fact. And it's the LeBron James show. That's what it is.
That's what it
LeBron
is.
and everyone, and then we do the whole king thing, and let's just keep, it's gotta be
yelling at the refs about calls. Chasing the ref down the floor. Where was the N1? You had a 20-point lead.
Right.
You worried about N1s with the game tied now, a minute left? Honestly.
Listen, I think they both cry so much in that series.
Yes.
Like it was like a baby convention watching the Lakers and Nuggets cry to the refs. Like Murray never stops crying. And Murray hasn't committed a foul since he was in 8th grade. He never commits a foul. The other guy that never shuts up is Lowry. He's one on Philly. I mean, this guy complains, but there's no one, as you know, no one comes close to the whiny crybaby B who plays tonight against the Clippers. No one complains more than Doncic. No one.
Let me try to slide LeBron in here. There was a lot of unhappy people. Let's quickly play LeBron, and then I'll give you AD after the break. Here he is.
Unhappy.
Of course. Let's go to the refs for afterward. We'll do it when we come back. Too long for LeBron. What can I do? What can I do?
Perfect. We had it all. Let me say this.
Okay.
Let me say this. I haven't rooted for the Lakers in a basketball game since I lived in Los Angeles. Now it's been 30 years, and I used to root for the Lakers and go to the Forum and to the Staples, and I used to love the Lakers, and I used to go watch Shaq and Kobe. And I rooted for the Lakers in games 1 and 2, and look what it got me.
Nowhere.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's when he swung it easy at 3/4 golf swings, and he pretty much hit his number all the time. Dude, but when he hit something full, he hit it 20 yards over the greens at times. He's like, what are you doing?
He's just smiley, happy, and a freakish athlete golf robot that's going to be right there winning majors for the next 10-plus years. It's amazing.
Did you say he was smiling or smiley?
Only on SportsGrid.
They're still the best. They're still the champs. Everyone wants to crown the Celtics the champions, but that's not the way it works. They got to beat them. And, they got to get through the East, which isn't going to be fun to begin with. Everyone thinks it's so automatic.
If it's just Boris is kind of losing his power, if whatever his tactics have been, move on.
Ferrall coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
To the 2024 Stanley Cup odds, the Hurricanes remain the favorite, followed by the Panthers and the Rangers. Interesting that they all are coming from the similar side of the bracket.
While the Oilers have the top-end talent, I still don't think they have enough depth, and Stuart Skinner does not scare me in depth. So I would say a long series from the Oilers and the Kings, and ultimately I think the Stars are the ones coming out of the West for the Stanley Cup.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
So I know this. I was trying to tell people in Indiana, in Bloomington, about the BetMGM first bet 1,500 offer, and you would have thought I was selling heroin to people. It was really a troubling conversation. I tried to make it easy for them. I was like, you can get this offer in 4 easy steps. Just download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or go to BetMGM.com. Sign up, deposit, at least send into your account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. I wasn't certain or not, Carver High, if they bet in Indiana. I think they do. I think that betting is legal in Indiana. I could be wrong. But no one wanted to talk to me about betting. I don't know what it is. Maybe
Nobody
it's me.
wanted to talk. Wow, how about that? They do have it there. Yes, Indiana is one of the states with the green light on, so that's okay. Let me give you this LeBron and the AD because, like I told you, a lot of people weren't happy after this Laker loss where they blew the 20-point lead. LeBron, of course, had to go and talk about the replay of the video officials, and he even brings up referencing the Knick game before him. Bizarre sequence from LeBron here. Here we go.
I don't understand what's going on in the replay center, to be honest. I think I said it this year or last year, whatever. D'Lo clearly gets hit in the face on a drive. What the fuck do we have a replay center if it's going to go? It doesn't make sense to me. It makes no sense to me.
They won't
It bothers
find
me.
him.
Sorry I didn't answer your question, but
Gobert
that is like.
They won't find him.
And then I just saw what happened with the Sixers Knick game too. What are we doing?
What happened there?
I don't know.
What happened in the
listen,
Sixer Knick game? What is he talking about?
Sour grapes. Like, honestly, like, and you know, I heard, like I said earlier in the show, that this is to plant a seed for the future. I am it's what's unbelievable to me is how he gets away with it and no one else does.
He won't get fined. No, he won't get fined.
He runs the league. So he has more juice than Adam Silver, and he can say whatever he wants. Anyone else does that post game, they're getting at least 25,000, at least. More likely 50. You mentioned the refs or the replay center or the league does a bad job of doing anything, you're getting a fine faster than you can spit. But not LeBron James, which to me is phony ass.
Yeah,
if he opens up his
FedEx.
mouth and shreds the refs and the NBA replay, he should get a fine too, just like everybody else.
He should, but I'm sure, like you said, he will not get the FedEx at his front door telling him how much he has to pay up. That won't happen to him. At least he talked a little bit. The same, I guess, can't be said for Anthony Davis. He really didn't have much to say afterwards. Here we go.
To kind of piggyback off that one, can you take us through that last play and just what happened and what unfolded? What was, I don't know if you were screened or what happened on that last play.
Jamal Murray made a shot.
All right, see ya.
Mic
All right, see AD.
Not having it. Not having it.
Would you be happy either if you were 14 for 19 from the floor and they froze you out in the fourth quarter? I guess I wouldn't be thrilled either afterwards.
Listen, Mike, it is so unbelievable to me that don't get me started again on this. It is so unbelievable to me. Why even have him on your team if you're not going to give him the ball? Like, he is so great, and they don't give him the ball in the fourth quarter. He doesn't touch the ball in the fourth quarter, in money time, in crunch time, in clutch time. He doesn't touch the ball. That is insane. They deserved to lose. And I'm going to say it again. I blame Darvin Ham. You're a horrible coach. What kind of moron, honestly, do you have to be to have that guy and not give him the ball? I mean, do the Nuggets give the ball to Joker every single trip down? He touches it every trip down. They will ignore Porter and Gordon at all lengths to make sure Joker touches the ball every time. They don't care what, and they love Gordon and Porter because they give them so much, but they don't care what they do. Gordon could dive into the crowd and make love to a woman and eat all of her popcorn and drink her Coke, and they wouldn't even miss him. They wouldn't even know he was out of the game. But the Lakers don't give the ball to AD. It is embarrassing. They're embarrassing. That coach is a moron. I don't care who he is, what color he is. He's an idiot, and that's all there is to it. You don't give that guy the ball. You're a moron idiot. And you can quote me on that. He's a terrible coach. No coach on earth would ever have a guy that good and not give him the ball.
Makes no sense.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's when he swung it easy.